This is the Real Housewives of New York, the Cavi-art of war. I have to tell you that my tweet from last week made the social edition of this week, and they misspelled my name. So, I don't know. Anyway, we start from Ramona and Dorinda talking about Mario. He kind of wants to be back in the family. She's really distressed. We get to Carol, who's running for the board of the building with 30 people, and she's got 3 campaign advisors there, and all I could think is somebody's avoiding writing her book. She will go to any lengths. Bethany goes back to her therapist, and her therapist is now going to need therapy because she was like super harsh on her. Sonia is on the Latino Show magazine, which is a little confusing to me because like everybody else, she's not Latino or Latina. I mean, but she's not. She's not. So it was a little confusing. And more, brand. She's wearing one of the dresses, which is like I could. One dress doesn't mean anything because I could start a Nikki line and I could make a single dress and wear it and be like, this is my line. But Kristen apologizes to Sonia, saying, I was mean to you and I didn't believe in you and I was wrong. And I will say that is a very classy thing to do and it is probably the right thing to do. I, on the other hand, am dubious, so we'll see. Carol she has people over, they have the vote results, she wins. Bethany did come to the event, she tried a little harder, and then she left too early, and Luann was like, oh, she left early. And I'm like, come on, cut the lady some slack. She's in the middle of a divorce, and I know people are sick of hearing about the divorce, but it's still, to Bethany, it's a traumatizing thing. She's having to live it, and living it's different than hearing about it. And she is splitting time with her daughter, which no one I know who has had to do that has been like, oh yeah, that's super easy and totally not stressful. So I think they need to kind of cut her some slack on that. Bethany and Carol go out to look at some furniture, and Bethany's saying how she can't really go spend the weekend with the Berkshires because it's her daughter's weekend, and and she feels really guilty about it. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure, and I just feel like, dude, cut her some slack. It's her daughter's weekend. Like, her daughter is very young, so she probably doesn't know as much. But I mean, admit it, if you were like 6 and it was your mother's weekend and she was off doing stuff. I think my mom painted in here. And your mom was off doing stuff and it was your weekend with her and she went to go do things for whatever reason, whether it's, I know sometimes it's work, but this is kind of questionable work. You would be really hurt. So I think, my opinion is that some of the sour grapes about Bethany not coming around has more to do with their work contract and, them wanting to have their events shown on TV because they film a lot more than what we see. And so I know that there's a lot of behind the scenes things about trying to get as many people to all of your events so that your events get shown on TV and, all that. And so I think it has more to do with like background business stuff than it really has to do with actual facts. Does that make sense? Like, oh, she's so mean. Anyway, Bethany's crying. Carol's like, do you want me to give you a hug? I don't really want to. And Bethany's like, no, that'd be super awkward. And she's like, okay, well, maybe one day we'll hug. Here's a napkin that you can buy. And, I don't know. I thought it was a funny scene. The people seemed kind of bitter about, oh, Bethany's crying again. And I'm like, dude, you guys, like, I cry 3 times a day. There's like a sad commercial or, I don't know. I feel like we'll just need to kind of cut her some slack. I personally feel bad for Bethany. She is not always right by any means at all. And if she annoys you, have at it. She can annoy you. But I feel like people are being super hard on like, oh, she's crying again. Oh, get over it, Bethany. And I'm like, just because she has all this money doesn't mean that she's not allowed to have human emotions, right? I'm probably all alone out there. Anyway, Dorinda has this Cavi-art birthday, and as a wonderful way to celebrate her birthday, everyone fights. So somehow this got brought up. They don't like John, and I don't necessarily like her boyfriend John either, but they can kind of shut their gap. And I guess what happened was Ramona and Luann were discussing John. Then Ramona went to Dorinda and repeated what Luann said. And, wait, did I say that right? Ramona and Luann were discussing John and saying bad stuff. And then Ramona went to Dorinda and said, oh, Luann said this about John. And then Dorinda called Luann on it. And then somehow that ended up being Ramona saying, you know, I told you that in confidence and you told Luann. So, you know, this is, you know, I'm not going to do that again. And I thought, oh yeah, way to twist it around. So somehow it's Dorinda's fault that other people are making fun of her boyfriend and she's upset about it. And I'm like, okay, if anyone is like, oh, you know, not at fault in this situation, it's Dorinda. And then of course Luann's like, you know, you can't just throw me under the bus. Ramona, you were there too. And it's just this big mess. And I'm like, what a lovely way to celebrate a birthday. So anyway, that was the episode. There you go. See you guys later.